Good morning. I was just thinking about something that was said yesterday in church while I was there. Someone said that God saves you, and the only thing that can keep you from being saved is you, if you jump out of the arms of God. It's the only thing. And I disagree with that profoundly. To that, I'd like to tell a story. So, how it goes is like this. There was a man, there is a man who's mentally disabled and physically disabled. He has a certain condition to where he's unable to feel warmth. He can feel touch, but not warmth, not heat. And also, he has an unrealistic idea of danger. So he gets himself into trouble lots of times, but he kind of doesn't recognize that he's in trouble. So what happens is one day he's living in this home with lots and lots of other people, and there's a huge fire. The fire breaks out into the house. People start rushing out of the house, and he's in the house, and he's not coming out. He's still in there. The fire department shows up, and they're like, man, we can't even save the fire. So they're not even going to bust out the fire hoses. They're just going to let it burn down because it's too far gone and they'd just be wasting fire. So they just decide to protect the neighbors' houses to make sure the fire doesn't spread and just let this one burn down. And so this man is in the house. And they're like, Charles is in the house. And so they run in, the firefighter runs into the house to get Charles. And he's like, Charles! And Charles hears him and he's over near a burning wall, feeling something like, I think I feel a little bit of warmth. And he's like, this is great. I love it. I'm in here. I'm warming myself by the fire. And the firefighter runs in that room and busts through the door. And he's like, hey, you got to get out of here. The place is going to burn down. And he's like, no, I'm fine. I'm okay. And he says, no, you gotta go. He says, look, I'm really okay, all right? You're kind of annoying me. Just leave me alone. I'm okay. And the firefighter runs over there and grabs Charles, picks him up, throws him over his shoulder, and busts through the next door, runs down the hallway. And Charles, get off of me, and jumps off of that guy and runs back into the room. And he's like, man, the nerve of some people. And he stays in there, and the firefighter runs out of the house, all smoking and coughing. And the people are like, what happened? Where's Charles? He's like, I went in there, and I saved him. But he jumped off of me. And they're like, well, technically, you didn't actually save him. You attempted to save him, but he jumped off of you. And also, you should have just held on him tighter or something. And he's like, well, I was holding him with all of my power, all of my might that I had. That's what I held him with. And, well, obviously you weren't strong enough. And then Brutus comes out and he says, I'll save him. And Brutus slaps on his gear, packs up his axe, tosses it to his back. Going in there, I'm going to save this dude. He runs through there. He doesn't even take the front door. He busts through the front wall. Busts right through. Goes in there. He busts through the next wall. And he's like, Charles! And Charles is there warming himself by the fire, and he turns like, yes? And he goes, let's go. I'm here to rescue you. And Charles is like, I'm okay. I'm not going with you. You got an axe, and you're kind of big, and I'm fine. And Brutus says, you're coming with me. And Brutus grabs Charles, picks him up, throws him over his shoulder, and starts making a way for the door. And then Charles says, you know what, Brutus, you smell. You smell like sweat. Do you bathe? And Brutus says, what? I'm here to save you. And he says, first of all, Brutus, I don't need you to save me. Second of all, you stink. And Brutus just goes, you know what, man? You're not even worth it. And tosses him off his shoulder and just marches out the house. And then they come out there and they're like, or he comes out the house and they're like, Brutus, what happened? We knew you'd be able to do it. And Brutus says, yeah, but he wasn't worth it. He's a little jerk. Something wrong with him? And like, yeah, he's a little bit slow. He's got a condition. And they're like, yeah, man, something is definitely wrong with him. He doesn't deserve to be saved. But I saved him, though. And they say, well, technically, Brutus, you didn't save him. you could have saved him, but you didn't technically save him because he's in the house right now. And he's burning. He's going to be on fire. He's going to be dead any minute now. Then, God Almighty almighty, all might in his hands, all powerful, God, all powerful, comes down and puts on his firefighter outfit. And he says, I will save him. God Almighty goes into the house. Charles has prepared something special for God Almighty, for he knew he would be coming. When God Almighty walks into that room, Charles grabs a pillar and smacks him across the face with it. Then he spits in his face. And God Almighty lovingly reaches out and brings him closer with Charles's burning clothes pressed against God Almighty's chest, holds him, pulls him over the shoulder, and carries him through the house with Charles spitting and screaming and saying all manner of evil against him and screaming, "Crucify him!" as God Almighty walks Charles out of the burning house, takes him to safety, gets him out of there, and then says, "See." Charles all of a sudden realizes he has been saved. He all of a sudden feels the burn on his flesh, and he sees the danger of the burning house, and he now realizes what danger he was in, and that he has truly been saved. It's not the first man who said, "I saved him," but he's still in there. It's not the second man that said, "I saved him," but he's still in there because he wasn't worthy. You're not saved unless you're saved. The whole meaning of the word saved is that you have actually been rescued. Not someone attempted to rescue you and came back and said they rescued you, but you did not allow them to. They can't say that. They have to come back and report saying, "I attempted to rescue him, but he wouldn't allow me." Or, "I attempted to rescue him, but he wasn't worthy." They have to say, "I attempted." They cannot truly say, "I did rescue him. Yes, I did. Yeah, I did. I did rescue him." No, you didn't. God did. So the insult to God by saying that you can take yourself out of his hands is like saying, like the first firefighter, he wasn't strong enough. He wasn't strong enough. He would have saved him, but he couldn't hold him because he wasn't strong enough. I said God Almighty is strong enough. And Brutus was strong enough, but didn't love him enough. God, all loving. When he saves, love endures insults. And then not only does he do that and save you and leave you in that condition, he opens your eyes and lets you see, and in turn lets you love, empowers you to love. He who has been saved from much loves much. I know it's he who has been forgiven much loves much, but without forgiveness, you're left in damnation. Forgiveness is a form of being saved. So he who has been saved from much appreciates a lot. Like, wow, if I rescued you from a bee stinging you, you'd be like, "Oh, thanks. Cool." But if I rescued you from a burning house or from the mouth of a lion, you would probably give me some handsome form of money, or maybe your daughter to marry or something like that. You know, you would be very, very happy that I actually saved your entire life, not just your skin from a sting. So he who has been saved from much loves much. He who has been forgiven much loves much. I put that to you because God is powerful, and it is an insult to his power and authority and love and grace to say that you can stop him. I love Jesus, and he's worthy to be praised. And when he saves, he saves. Trust him. Rest in his arms. He is powerful. He rose from the dead. You, me, will rise when you trust in the strong arm of God.